All right, time for a video that's very long overdue from Kensui, the makers of the world's greatest weight vest, or at least in my opinion. Put the review up here for you. But they've come out with a lot of new accessories and fun toys to bring up the level of all the other exercises you do in your workout that may or may not include that vest. So let's dive in and see what we got. So first off, we have these. These are what they call their XT sleeves. The conventional sleeves that come on the Easy Vest extend out from the chest and of course the back, so you can thread on plates just like any sort of like a thread lock dumbbell. But when you're doing push-ups on the floor, or sometimes if you want a little bit more of a compact kind of form factor for things like circuit training, these are ideal because what they do is they allow you to have the plate on the vest without the extending thread that's kind of getting in the way, especially when doing push-ups on the floor. They work extremely well, and they do exactly what they say they should do. The only thing to keep in mind is they allow you to only have one plate on each side, which I didn't really find to be much of a limitation, because if you have a 25 or 35 or even a 45-pound plate on each side, you're still talking about a vest that can go up to 90 pounds, which is certainly more than adequate in most applications. Next up, we've got their Hydroplates. These kind of remind me of the things I used to see in those Sky Mall catalogs where you had dumbbells where you would fill the plates up with water so that way you could have travel portable dumbbells. Same basic idea here, only these are much bigger and they're much heavier. 2 of these plates fully filled with water will be a good 35 pounds, which for most cases when we're talking about weighted calisthenics is a pretty decent amount. The use of these, though, I found a little bit cumbersome. These plugs where you put the water in took a little bit longer to fill with water than I was anticipating. I timed it actually, and filling both plates up to about this capacity here, not quite full, was about 4 minutes each. Now, to put that in context, my Camelback with a much bigger wide mouth, while albeit as a smaller bladder, took less than 30 seconds. So emptying and filling these things was a little bit more cumbersome. Plus, do keep in mind that these are fairly thick, so you want to use the bigger weight vest that they have for that extra threaded distance for this to fit. And if you have the smaller vest, you're going to need to deflate some of the water. Deflate? Unfill? Well, less water, less weight for if you're using one of those. And I personally just never really felt much of a drive to have portable weight plates. Whenever I was traveling, I would just take a suspension trainer or rely primarily on progressive calisthenics or isometrics as my travel exercise of choice, and I felt it was just a little too cumbersome to bring these along, but nonetheless, I'm sure someone out there probably is having a longer trip, like when I studied in Japan, and thinking I need to bring some sort of weight with me, and these will fit the bill for that. Time to get into some of the new stuff. Swvl. These are their swivel handles. I love these sorts of things. In fact, I was going to DIY myself some with some PVC handles and some rope, although I couldn't quite get the design just right to make it really work for me, because I've long thought that if you really want to get the most out of your pull-up training, you want to have some sort of an adjustable swivel style handle to give you a lot of variety. Rotation of the arms when doing pull-ups can be very healthy for the joints, makes the muscles activate a little bit more, just feels more satisfying. And these are really easy to set up. You just throw them over the bar and they cinch right up. They don't move around, laterally. They don't slip around on you. And they also rotate very easily. I know initially I was like, just use rings, like rings will swivel. But if you get the ring real close up to a pull-up bar, whatever you're anchoring to, like a tree limb or something, then the design of the strap usually kind of resists some of that rotation. You can do it to some degree, but it's usually not the easiest. This always stays very nice and easy. I like the quality of this plastic. It's very sturdy. It doesn't feel cheap at all. The knurling is aggressive enough to feel secure, but it's not going to tear up the hands. Of course, it'll accommodate chalk very well. I do wonder about this space, though. I have fairly average hands, I guess. My fingers are a little on the skinny side, and the handle is just big enough, so I'm wondering if folks with bigger, more Thanosian style hands may find this a little bit impeding on that, but nonetheless, they work extremely well and highly recommended for any pull-up aficionado out there. Next up, Swissies. First off, love the name because a friend of mine used to have Swiss mountain dogs. We always refer to them as her Swissies, so I just like the name for that reason alone. But these are clamp-on neutral grip handles for pull-up bars and barbells. I know you might be thinking, well, dude, why don't you just use the Swvl? Because you can do neutral grip style with that. Absolutely, you certainly can. But these give a little bit of a different feel in several ways. The first of which is when you put weight onto them, there's not nearly as much instability and motion that you get with the Swissies. So if you want a bit more of a solid feel and more stable neutral grip bar, then these are what you want. Second is these are also a little bit closer to the actual bar that you're hanging onto. So if you don't want something that's going to hang down quite as far, these will work. Plus, these are ideal for bent over barbell rows and deadlifts. Those exercises have always been something that I've like, well, they're good, but it's kind of cumbersome for a lot of people depending on the supination or pronated grip. Wish we had more of a neutral grip like we would have with the trap bar, but that can get kind of wide and stuff. These solve that problem perfectly. Plus, the handle itself is only about an inch or two off the actual bar that you're using. So if you're using the Swvl, it's going to compromise the range of motion you have unless you're stepping on steps and you've got all this other ways you've got to accommodate that. These work perfectly well for exactly that purpose of deadlifts and bent over rows with a strong, sturdy, neutral grip. And then lastly, we have Elevate. These are they're basically a portable incline platform that you can use under your hands or your feet when you're doing heel raised squats, or if you want to take a little bit of pressure off your wrists when you're doing push-ups, crawling around, or any sort of floor-based skill work. And they're a simple tool that works very well. They've got these nice rubber feet on the bottom, so they're not going to slide around on you as I originally feared they might. They feel very solid and sturdy underneath, and these straps on the back make them ideal for if you want to be moving your hand around and have a solid footing for wherever you put your hand for things like yoga flows and stuff. Works perfectly well. So overall, I highly recommend all of these tools if you feel that one of them might just fill in some of the cracks that are kind of impeding or holding you back in your workouts. These things are basically purpose-built tools. Yes, you can use other things, but it's kind of like trying to drive a nail in with a rock. It can be done, but it's nothing like having a tool that's purpose-built for the job. And I want to thank Kensui not only for sending me these lovely toys to play with, but also for just innovating in a world where it seems like everybody's creating Me Too products. Someone comes out with something, and then everyone else is like, great, we'll slap our brand name on it and just create the exact same thing. Kensui seems to be one of the few companies out there that's still pushing the innovation envelope when it comes to accessories and tools that can bring your workout to the next level and beyond. So check out the link down below if you want to learn more. Thank you again, Kensui, for sending me this stuff. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments section. Be fit, live free.